And welcome to the Marcus's Mike Show, guys. I am Mike. My man over here to my left is Marcus. Marcus, normally I say, "How's your day going?" But I know how your day's going. Your day is going freaking awesome because NBA free agency is underway. But before we get into that, we have to talk about the New York Yankees just a little bit.
Uh-oh.
They've now extended that streak to 31 straight games, home runs. They just played a weekend series over in London versus the Boston Red Sox. Very good rivalry going on there. They're the first team since they did it back in 2001 to score 12 or plus more runs in 5 straight games. On the flip side of that, Boston, since they did it in 2001, was the first team to lose 3 straight games when scoring 8 plus runs. So,
Yeah. It, Boston, man, you can't get a game, Boston.
right, nope, they
Just
did not.
get one game, please.
Yeah, it was
One.
quite the spectacle going on over there overseas.
Yeah.
So, but
I mean, yeah, it was funny to watch though. I mean, it was like it's like a pop fly as a home run. I mean,
yeah,
kind of. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I mean, it was a short porches all the way around in the center field as well. Okay, baby. My daughter. Yeah, it's a short field as well, out in center field and stuff like that. And man, that first game, or was it the Saturday game? I'm not sure. It was like 17-13.
yeah.
It was nuts. I was just hoping Boston could get one game, and they couldn't get one game.
Well, I mean, the Yankees are pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
they are the Golden State Warriors, paying like $17 million a year in salary or whatever, so they better be good. But Marcus, free agency is what? It's about almost a full day in here. Like what we're saying, about 18, 19 hours of free agency time has gone by here. Just some notable trades that have had happen. The biggest one that surprised me was Jimmy Butler to the Heat. What are your thoughts on that right off the bat?
Well, Jimmy Butler better not say it's all about winning anymore. He just wants to win because that's out the window. He wants to live in a nice city, a beautiful city like Miami, and he wants to get paid.
Right.
So he accomplished that mission accomplished. Miami didn't have any cap room whatsoever, and so I was trying to figure out, what deal they would make there. And the only person that made sense to go to the Sixers was Josh Richardson. So that deal was kind of even there. Josh Richardson, a younger player, I think could be even better than Jimmy Butler. We'll talk about Philly later on, but yeah, Jimmy Butler's got his own team now and his own set of problems, and he's got Justice Winslow and just a bunch of pieces, Kelly Olynyk, and so they're not going anywhere. They'll be bounced out in the first round. But hey, happy for Jimmy Butler. He found a team, and he's the man on the team. He's getting paid a lot of money. That's not going to do anything. So congratulations to Jimmy Butler.
Hey,
That's what he wanted.
but at the same time, I'm kind of glad he did not go to Houston. Like I kind
Oh
of
yeah,
felt that was all kind of a smoke screen, and I deep down thought he was going to LA. Like I thought that is where he was going to go. He was going to go with AD, uh, and then James there, and to make a
yes,
and like make a powerhouse team and win 3 or 4 championships. But the Heat kind of makes sense too, I guess. I mean, they kind of flew under the radar there. Nobody was talking about them as well, but they lost Dwayne Wade earlier this year to retirement, and Jimmy
right,
Butler fits that Dwayne Wade mold perfectly.
right.
So, I mean,
I would
like
have
you are
been
correct. They're still going to be horrible, but
well. I would have been. I mean, it would have made sense if Miami actually had cap room, and then they signed Jimmy Butler, and then you kept Josh Richardson, who's an up and coming all star, not superstar, but all star, and then then you got Jimmy Butler and Josh Richardson and Goran Dragic and Justice Winslow and then you have a team that could compete. They still won't win a title, but you had to give up, Josh Richardson's 18, 19 points a game for Jimmy Butler's 20 some points a game. It's really a wash, pretty much. Miami will still be good and competitive, but it's not really anything. Jimmy Butler, I wonder how Miami folks are celebrating yesterday because they had to give up an up and coming all star to get Jimmy Butler. But oh well, it is what it is.
yeah. But at the same time, the Heat were battling for that AC last year to sneak into the playoffs. I don't think they'll be battling for that AC at all with this addition. I mean, Jimmy Butler is a good player. He might even be a great player, but it's just that team is just like it is like a puzzle when you have the border made, but
Yeah,
but you're still missing all the inner stuff there, like the hard part to put together. And they needed to build that in the off season or in this free agency, and adding Jimmy Butler to a max contract or how much he signed is not going to complete that puzzle for them
No.
at all. And then obviously you have to go over to the New York Nets here. Maybe the quote unquote biggest winners thus far in free
Yeah.
agency. They did sign KD and Kyrie, and
Yeah.
also they signed Jordan from the Knicks as well.
Yep.
Reports are starting to surface that KD and Kyrie are going to take less than the max to sign Jordan to a 4-year, $40 million deal.
Right.
So props to KD and Kyrie realizing that they need more than just them two. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, listen, this is not a coincidence, Michael, that the that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving joined together. They were both told by their previous organizations that we won without you. We went further without you. We don't need you. They were told by their players and people in the organization. So it's no coincidence that they felt disrespected, Kyrie and Kevin Durant, and what a perfect match. Two great players that felt disrespected by their previous organizations will join together, will join forces, and try to win an NBA title. Not this year, but next year. It almost made perfect sense. And then what really should have sent a red flag is the Taurean Prince trade. The Nets got rid of Allen Crabbe. Taurean Prince went to the Nets. Allen Crabbe goes to Atlanta. That's Kevin Durant's friend. So they did two things there. They got Kevin Durant's friend, Taurean Prince, in New Jersey, and they freed up a lot of cap room from the Crabbe contract, which was a bad contract. So right there, red flag should have gone up and said, hey, Kevin Durant could sign with the Nets. So could Kyrie. So this is really fun stuff. I mean, for the Nets to pull this off, kudos to Sean Marks and Coach Atkinson. Man, he's on cloud nine right now. And Sean Marks did a heck of a job acquiring all these kids and all these players. And they're going to be fine next year. They're not going to compete for the title next year, but they're going to be fun to watch because they still have LeVert and Harris, and they still have Taurean Prince, Kyrie Irving, and Dinwiddie. I think can be Dinwiddie. Man, I love him. He could be a special player to me. So they have a lot going on. DeAndre Jordan, and Allen from UT, their center from last year. So the Nets are going to be a playoff team this year. Could even be a 4th seed. Who knows? But now with Durant coming next year, they could win it all. And I'm not joking. They could easily win it all if they stay healthy. So the New Jersey Nets won the day yesterday.
Yeah, you are 100% correct there. The biggest winner's got to be KD, honestly, because he's going to get paid, what, $40 million or $45 million to sit on the bench for a full year. Yeah. That's a big win there.
Yeah.
But just to add to your point there, the Nets are going to be pretty good because they were a 5th or 6th seed this year, if I'm not mistaken. And then you add Kyrie and Jordan to that mix. Jordan might
be Taurean Prince.
Right, you're right. Jordan might be a little aged, maybe a little past his prime because he didn't play a whole lot when he was with the Knicks. But him and KD are friends. They've been on Twitter saying that they might even be best friends, maybe in a roundabout way. So as soon as KD did not go to New York, Jordan wanted out of there. He wanted to go play with KD 100%. And for him to get a 4-year $40 million deal on top of it, that's a win for him as well. And then the Nets added depth to that center position, which they kind of needed.
Yes, they did.
They are going to be a pretty good team. They're really,
Michael,
really good team.
They needed that depth at the center position because Allen struggled against Embiid. So now, if you want to post Embiid now, it's not going to be on. Now Allen's about 6'11", but he's frail.
Yeah.
Now, and so he had a hard time when Embiid went in the post because Embiid's bigger and stronger. Now, when Embiid goes in the post, he's going to deal with DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah.
So you're 100% right. They need
and
that
he's
depth.
seasoned as well, and he's a thick body.
Yes. Right.
So I really like that pickup, probably more than the KD Kyrie thing.
Right. That's a good one.
Speaking of the Nets, D'Angelo Russell signed and traded with the Nets and Golden State Warriors. So now you have Seth Curry, Klay Thompson, D'Angelo, Draymond Green, all at Golden State. What are your thoughts about that Hassan
Um,
and sign and trade? D'Angelo Russell to the Golden State Warriors.
I was about to go to bed last night, happy because everything kind of just worked out. It's fine. We're waiting on the Kawhi situation and all that. And I'm about to like go to bed. I finished watching the show. I'm about to lay down, and it said breaking news: D'Angelo Russell to the Warriors, and I just went, oh god, they had to send me to bed on a bad note. Listen, next year I'm on record saying next year the Warriors won't make the playoffs. I mean, who do they have? They're Jonas Jerebko. They're going to get you in the playoffs. In other words, all they had was Draymond Green and Stephen Curry. And then you remember Van Fleet guarded Curry. Remember they did all the boxing ones and all that?
Right, right.
Yeah, and so it made life hell for Curry. And so he was going to see a lot of that next year, a lot of boxing ones. But now he won't. With the addition of D'Angelo Russell, now Curry cannot play out ball like he normally does. Draymond Green be the facilitator, and there you go. You got a great combo guard in D'Angelo Russell that can play point and two guard. He's a catch and shoot player, dribble drive, everything. D'Angelo Russell's got it in his arsenal. This is not the same player that left the Lakers 3 years ago. This guy's more efficient, can shoot it better, more well-rounded. So now Golden State's back in the playoffs once again. And then, hey, listen, in 2 years from now, they can be excited as anybody. The Nets are going to get Kevin Durant. Well, next year they're going to have a full Klay Thompson, D'Angelo Russell. Not next year, excuse me, the following year. They're going to have a full team, Draymond Green. I mean, and so they'll be back to being the lineup of death. Now, it won't be as good as when Durant was there, but
Sure.
man, they could easily win a title, Golden State, in 2 years from now with that lineup.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of went to bed upset.
But just to add to your point there, I think I would be more accepting them winning a title with this lineup that they have versus the one with KAD. Just
Right.
I don't know, I feel a little bit more
get
at
it.
ease at it, just because the NBA is more spread out now. I guess
Right.
guess you can say, like, you can't circle them and say they're going to win the final. But
I got you.
as we are recording this at 1 o'clock Eastern time, some breaking news just came in from the ESPN. Klay Thompson has agreed to a 5-year, $100 million max contract for Golden State Warriors, as we all kind of expected when free agency started to loom and all that good stuff. So Klay Thompson getting the money that he deserves, I guess
Yeah.
you can say, even though he is only good for one game, one big game in a playoff series. So hopefully he can step up and make two games this next year. Speaking of free agencies here, and you were alluding to the Philadelphia 76ers as well. We talked last week that they kind of needed to get J.J. Redick back on the team. Well, that did not happen. J.J. Redick signed with the New York Pelicans, and the Pelicans traded for Derek Favors as well. What are your
Right.
thoughts on those two trade and acquisitions?
I think Philadelphia has the best starting five in basketball again. Yes, they needed JJ Redick, I think, but I didn't know they were going to be able to get Josh Richardson. Josh Richardson can shoot it um, as good as anybody. This guy's a special talent, 6'6". I remember going to the Spurs game in March 20th. I remember the date against the Miami Heat, and Josh Richardson just killed us. And so this guy can shoot it. He can take you off the dribble. He's a heck of a player. Could be an all-star coming up. I mean, that's the talent that this kid has. I love Philadelphia. Ben Simmons work on his jump shot. Joel Embiid. Then you get Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris at small forward, and maybe he can even do the. He's a stretch four at 6'8". He can do that too. Tobias Harris can shoot the three, post you up. I think Philadelphia 76ers have the best starting five in basketball. And of a gun to my head right now, I think the Philadelphia 76ers are coming out of the East.
Ooh, that's a bold statement, because I think the Bucks are still going to be the team to beat there, even though they really haven't made noise in the free agency or anything to that effect. But I think Philadelphia losing J.J. Redick is going to hurt them more in the long run than it is on hindsight here, because yes, he only averaged like 15 points a game, 12 points a game, or something like that during the regular season. But his big shot capability, you need that in the playoffs, and they're going to, and I think they're going to highly miss that a lot. As far as the Pelicans acquiring him, I think that's exactly what they needed. They are going to be a run and shoot type of offense with like Zion and the big center guy that they signed up for. I forget his name. In the 8th overall pick, I think it was, they got him. Uh,
Oh yeah, Jackson Hayes from Texas. Yeah.
yeah. And then then you add a shooter to JJ Redick and the Favors in there as well. The Pelicans are going to be a very dangerous team.
Now, oh, wait. Now you're reporting something. I don't know. Derek Favors went where?
He got traded to the Pelicans.
Wow.
Yeah, the
Yeah, the
Pelicans are doing some
Pelicans are loaded.
off-season moves.
The
So
the Pelicans are going to make the playoffs next year.
yeah, I would not
Yes.
be surprised if they're not a fifth seed or maybe even as high as a fourth
Yeah.
seed going into next year. The Pelicans definitely needed a shooter, and they got it in JJ Redick, and I'm
Yes.
happy about that. I kind of want them to be successful, just because of all the AD drama that has been circulating, or like just like around them. Just some more news: the Blazers did re-sign Rodney Hood and Damian Lillard to pretty good deals. I don't have the exact numbers on that, but speaking of Miami, that we just talked about with Jimmy Butler, went to the Blazers just acquired Whiteside from the Heat. What are your thoughts on that?
That was a little weird to me because they had to give up Mo Harkless and Myers Leonard, Myers Leonard is one of the worst defensive players I've ever seen in my life. But and then they didn't re-sign Aminu, Al Farouk Aminu. So they're giving up their two like 6'8", 6'9" guys, that can defend and shoot three. So and then see Hassan Whiteside and Nurkic together. I don't know how that works. So that's interesting to me. So Hassan Whiteside's a good talent. Sometimes it's some motivation issues, but we'll see how him and Nurkic work together. I mean, I don't, Nurkic is in the paint a lot. Nurkic can't shoot it, but he's in the paint a lot. I don't want to see how this works out. This could be great, but I don't see it yet. Portland getting back Nurkic is a big deal, but then like I said, they lost Myers Leonard, Harkless, and Al Farouk Amino now. So, I mean, we'll see how the Warriors. I don't think the Warriors are going to be as big as I thought they were. So I don't know how this is going to work. But, getting a talent like Hassan Whiteside's pretty good. It's just motivational issues for him and things like that. But, hey, they still have Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. So they'll be in the mix somehow.
Yeah, they'll still be in the playoffs, but they're going to be another first-round exit because they did lose Seth Curry to the Mavericks for a 4-year, like $100 million, or it wasn't like $100 million.
$32 million.
Yeah, $32 million. So
Mavericks are going to be good.
Yes. And they signed Porzingis to a max contract as well.
Yeah.
So they're starting to build some talent as well. I just wanted to clarify that the Golden State Warriors have not officially gotten D'Angelo Russell yet, but they're working on a sign and trade deal with the New York Nets. That's on that.
You want to ruin my day for a second day.
I'm sorry.
I hate the Warriors, man. Like,
sorry
on the
about
Western
that,
Conference, I can't have the Warriors winning titles anymore, man. Like their dynasty has to be done, and this D'Angelo Russell thing keeps the dynasty going.
So just to add to your dynasty point there, Andre Iguodala, however you say his name, I have trouble saying his name. He was on the Breakfast Club expressing how bad the medical staff was on the Warriors. He is now out at Golden State, and he is signed with Memphis Grizzlies for a 2024 first round pick. What are your thoughts on AI going to Memphis?
Well, I mean, that does hurt Golden State a little bit because it'll lessen the Golden State's defense. So I like that, although he's getting up in age. So that helps me a lot. But I don't think Memphis is going to keep him. I think they'll be like I think it's like an amnesty thing, or they'll just like waive him or whatever, however they're going to do it. And then Iguodala probably signed with the Lakers. So he's going to go get another, or he'll come back to the Warriors for a minimum contract. Yeah. He's going to get $18 million from the Warriors next year.
I don't think he will end up in the Warriors. Just the way he dogged them. Like, I don't think
no.
He wants
you know what? Don't go on the Breakfast Club, right? He learned his lesson. Yeah, that's So, but yeah, I mean, so he'll join the Lakers or the Clippers or something, or the Nets. Somebody's going to get hell, go back to the Sixers for a minimum contract. That's where he made his name for himself. Iguodala was an all-star with the Sixers. So he's got a lot of his options. But, man, what a lavish life, right? He's going to be paid $18 million, $18.5 million this year, and he doesn't even have to play. That's the difference between the NFL and the NBA.
The guaranteed contracts are definitely definitely
Crazy.
like intriguing, like just like about that.
Right.
But I mean, there have been so many transaction and acquisitions and trades and like all that stuff over here in the last 24 hours. I mean, we
Right.
clearly can't go through all of them. We just don't have that time or that platform. But what is your biggest trade signings or that has happened since free agency? What do you think the biggest moves have been so far?
Well, I mean, obviously Durant and Kyrie. We already touched on them, kind of. I'm trying to think right now. God, I was in that. I was like bogged down yesterday. Everything's running through my brain. Josh Richardson going to the Sixers because I was thinking, Jimmy Butler, if he leaves, where will that leave the Sixers? But man, when you're getting Josh Richardson back, I mean they're going to be just fine. Like I said, the best starting five in basketball. Um, Michael Brogdon, or excuse me, Malcolm Brogdon going to the Pacers is a big, big deal. You're talking, I consider like a Malcolm Brogdon like almost a perfect player. What I mean by that is he's a 50, 40, 90 guy. 50% from the field, 40% from three, and 90% from the free throw line. That is really hard to do, Michael. And so now Indiana Pacers have a point guard that's a 50, 40, 90 guy, and he's a great defender. So that's why I call him the perfect player. So Indiana got better in that regard. I mean, they chose Aaron Holiday to be their point guard of the future in last year's first round pick. So they're still developing him, and they can do that under the Aaron Holiday can learn under the tutelage of Malcolm Brogdon, which is a great thing for Aaron Holiday. Aaron Holiday will come in as like a change of pace guy, just a good shooter, maybe even a better shooter than Malcolm, and he's a little faster, but Malcolm is the perfect point guard. And then Indiana got Jeremy Lamb to kind of offset losing Bojanovic as far as shooting ability goes. So I think Indiana did fine yesterday. But yeah, Malcolm Brogdon to the Pacers I thought was under the radar and a really good move. Um, Man, I'm trying to think anything else comes to re-signing Brook Lopez for Milwaukee was huge, and Middleton, that's huge, for their future. They're gonna have to really prove to Giannis that so that Giannis doesn't sign anywhere else in free agency next year, that they're trying to build the correct team around him, and so that's a big deal. So yeah, I guess gun to my head, the under the radar signing Malcolm Brogdon to the Pacers, I liked it.
Yeah, on on the surface, I think the KD Kyrie thing is the best move because KD is the second or third best player in the NBA currently, but he's not
Right,
going to play
right.
this next year. So I think that kind of trumps the answer that I'm going to make, and I think the Russell to the Warriors that has got to be one of the biggest offseason moves so far. Just because
Yes.
it was really unexpected. We both thought that Russell was going to end up in LA or stay at the Nets. The Golden State Warriors never crossed our mind. Like we never thought they would
Right.
have the ability to even sign him, but they're working out some type of sign and trade deal with the Nets, putting their salary cap at like 1.7 billion dollars or something,
Yeah.
something ridiculous. It just keeps getting higher and higher and like higher. But one of the biggest moves that I liked seeing was the Denver Nuggets signing Jamal Murray to I think it was a 3-year deal, if I remember seeing that correctly. He improved as a player during the playoffs over and over and over, and I like to see him make even more bigger strides this year. Seeing if they can't put the Denver Nuggets in the NBA Finals this year,
Yeah.
that because Jamal Murray is a very good piece of that Denver Nugget team, and
Yeah.
I'm glad they signed him to a deal.
Yeah, I mean, talking about the Nuggets real quick, if you think about like Kawhi Leonard is the balance of power in the NBA.
Right.
So in terms of if Kawhi Leonard decides to stay with Toronto, gun to my head today, because I think the Lakers still would be favored because LeBron James and Anthony Davis are transcendent players. But let's see who they put around them. I thought maybe one of those could be Seth Curry and Danny Green and DeMarcus Cousins. I mean, if they do that, but they're not going to do that because Seth Curry already signed with the Mavericks. But we'll see who they put around them. But like, but right now, not knowing who the Lakers are going to have, I would call a Philadelphia Denver Nuggets NBA Finals. Now, if Kawhi goes to the Clippers, then I think it's a Clippers Philadelphia Finals But if Kawhi stays in Toronto, I'm going to call Philadelphia versus the Nuggets. But now if Kawhi goes to the Lakers, it's Lakers Philly, and then I think it'll be a sweep. I think they might sweep Philly, give him a gentleman sweep. So
So
that's how big. So that's how big Kawhi is. Wherever he goes, he changes everything. Just like when he left the Spurs, he changed the Spurs.
yeah,
If he leaves, he changed Toronto. Toronto was like a floundering, second or third. Once in a while, made it to Eastern Conference Finals. He made them a championship team.
right.
Wherever Kawhi goes, they're a championship team. And the other teams will have, and if he stays in the Eastern Conference, the other Western Conference teams will have a chance to win the title.
Yeah, so let me ask you this question. Since Kawhi is a balance of power wherever he goes, if he goes to LA, just like when KD went to Golden State, is that going to be a punk move for Kawhi? Or do you think he has already proved himself by winning it with the Spurs, by winning it with Toronto, and like now maybe he just wants to coast, playing with some of the greatest players. If Kawhi goes to LA, is that a punk move on his part?
No, because he's already, just like you mentioned, he's already proven he could take a team with like a half of an all-star, in Kyle Lowry and another half of an all-star in Siakam. So you combine those two, and it's one really great player. You know what I mean? He's already taken a group. Fred VanVleet, who was awesome, and Danny Green. He's already proved way better than Kevin Durant that he can take a team and win a title. So, it's not a punk move as like Kevin Durant. Like, that's just crazy. You just can't beat him, join him, that type of thing. That's a punk move. But that being said, if I'm Kawhi Leonard, I still don't do that. Like, I mean, that is an easy ring, though. It's a kind of a punk, but it's like a little bit like, scale of 1 to 10. Durant's a 10. Talking about punk move, Kawhi's kind of like 3 or 4, 2 or 3, 4. I mean, stay with Toronto, see if you can win it again, run it back, or go to the Clippers and do kind of the same thing that you did with Toronto. Be that man, be that alpha, be the best. You go to, you know what I mean? You go to the Lakers and you're LeBron's still the man there. You'll be second, right. And then I guess LeBron will retire. It's going to be you and Anthony Davis, I guess. Then that'll look a lot better. But so no, it's not a punk move, but it's not nothing. It's not anything I would do. Maybe Kawhi Leonard is he wants an easy route because everything's been hard for him kind of in his career with the injury, and then he was on a team with the Spurs where their big three, Ginobili, Parker, Duncan, were older, so he really had to play. He didn't carry them, but he had to be the main piece to win a title there.
Right.
And so maybe he's like, you know what? I'm going to have load management. My injury's kind of bad. I don't want to be the guy every night. So then he's going to sign with the Lakers if that's how he feels.
Yeah, you just hit on the point exactly what I was getting ready to say. I am reading between the lines here 100%. The reason why he is even considering going to LA is because that quad injury is more than what we think it is. It could be a partial tear. It could be a complete tear. Because we saw it in the NBA Finals. You said it 3 or 4 times that we only saw him really do one monstrous dunk. So he was definitely not the player that he was. So by him entertaining LA, maybe even leading towards like LA, as the reports that I keep seeing and reading about, maybe that injury is more than what he is leading on to us to believe. So he is going to go join a team where he doesn't have to be the man. So he can, just like you said, load management throughout the season. And then once playoffs comes, when he's in the finals, he's still doing those explosive dunks because, he's only playing 70% of the year versus 100% of the year, having to carry that team on his back. Now he has AD and LeBron and hopefully some more pieces to add to that mix, so he doesn't have to be the man night in and night out. Now, if that injury is not anything, if it's just a bruise and just needs time to heal, you will see him as an LA Clipper, I think. Right. But if the injury is anything, he will be a Laker. So he will sign a big deal with the Lakers, like I said, a 4-year deal, and kind of finish out his career there, because he is still technically home. He is home in LA where he wants to be, but he doesn't have to be the man, and he can play 6 or 7 more years. But if he's in Clippers or Toronto, he maybe has 3 years left in him.
Right. No, I get it. And then that's a great point you bring up, because we're going to find out how big this injury is. We really are, because if this injury wasn't a big deal, I think he would have signed a 2-year deal with Toronto, Because think about it, he's only 27 years old. No, he just turned 28.
Right.
He would have signed like a 2-year deal in Toronto, see if he can run it back, and then he would have been a free agent next year at 29, and then he could have signed for big money again. So, but this injury is a big deal. So he's going to get the bag this year. He's going to get all the money this year. He's going to sign that 4-year, $160 million deal from the Lakers or the Clippers because the injury is a big deal.
Yeah.
And so,
and depending on how big the injury is, he won't go to LA Clippers because he has to be the man.
Right.
He can go to LA and coast for those 4 years, and hopefully he can get another big deal moving past those 4 years.
And it's going to be interesting to see what the Lakers do, even if they sign Kawhi, if they don't sign Kawhi, who they fill their roster out with. I think Danny Green's sitting there. He's waiting in the wings.
Yeah.
He's waiting to follow. You know what he's doing? He's waiting to follow Kawhi Leonard wherever he goes.
Yeah.
I think Danny Green. Yeah, I think, except if it's with the Clippers. Maybe he might follow him to the Clippers too. So I think Danny Green will follow him with Toronto. Definitely follow him with the Lakers.
Yeah.
And because here's what Danny Green's dilemma is. How would you like this? If Kawhi signed with the Clippers, and then the Clippers say, "Hey, well, you want to join?" And then LeBron calls you, and Anthony Davis calls Danny Green, and said, "Hey, we need to fill out our roster. We have money. Kawhi didn't sign with us. We have $10 to $12 million for you." Man, it might be tempting if I'm Danny Green to leave Kawhi alone for the first time in about 7 years, and go play with LeBron and Anthony Davis. That's
right.
I would love to be in Danny Green's position. Think about your Danny Green. Kawhi on one side on the phone and LeBron on the other side on the phone. Who do you go with?
That's a great LeBron James, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a great position to be in, though. Yeah.
But speaking of the Lakers and filling out the roster, I kind of thought Kemba Walker was going to end up in LA. Yeah. Completely wrong. He ended up as a Boston Celtic, if I'm not mistaken. What do you feel about that one?
Oh, it's a great fit. I mean, you basically replace Kyrie with Kemba, but there's no Rozier on your shoulder because they let Rozier go to Charlotte. So Kemba's the man. I mean, pretty much. I think they should re-sign the Morris brothers, or I'm not sure if they're not signed or not. Marcus Morris. They need to re-sign them. They don't have that many bigs anymore. They lost Al Horford. They missed out on Julius Randle. I don't think Baines is there anymore. So I don't know, man. DeMarcus Cousins looks really juicy for the Celtics or the Lakers. I mean, that's the thing that you don't have. I mean, there was $2.5 billion given out yesterday, but you still have Danny Green and DeMarcus Cousins out there, and there's still money to be had, and they're still in high demand. So, man, I don't, Kemba Walker to the Celtics is great. I think they just need a big man in there, and hopefully that's. I mean, if I'm DeMarcus Cousins, maybe he doesn't want to live in Boston because I heard people don't like to live in Boston. So, and I mean, I'll be honest with you, it might be, we won't get into this because I don't really want to get into it, but it's kind of racial in Boston. From some of the African-American players talked about living in Boston. For some, it's great, but for some, they've had bad experiences there, okay? And it's kind of like they're not used to that. They're used to, like, doing this and that, and they can't move freely about Boston, and you know what I mean? Yeah, so you won't get into the racial aspects of it. I mean, use your imagination. You can kind of figure it out. So I don't know if DeMarcus Cousins would even want to play in Boston. But that would be a good fit basketball-wise to play in Boston because they need a big man, and you'd be playing with Jaylen Brown and Tatum and Kemba Walker and Marcus Smart. So Boston would be in the mixer. But if I'm DeMarcus Cousins, I'm going with LeBron James. I want to sign with the Lakers, man.
Exactly.
Because I want to sign with Anthony. See, that's my boy Anthony Davis, right?
Yeah, they went to college together and the Pelicans together. So.
Yes, I would want to. If I'm DeMarcus, see, DeMarcus is waiting on the Kawhi situation, right? Because if Kawhi doesn't sign with the Lakers and he goes back to Toronto, he goes to the Clippers, then the Lakers have $32 million to give to Danny Green and DeMarcus Cousins.
Right.
So so DeMarcus and Danny Green are waiting.
Yeah, well, even if Kawhi does go to LA, they still have room to sign one of those guys. They still have room to sign Green or Cousins. They do. Because Anthony Davis waived his $4 million no trade clause, which you called last week. But basically, right as we finished that show, I think it was Thursday. I got the text message saying, "Hey, Anthony Davis waived his no trade clause. They got $4 million or something like that."
Right.
So the Lakers have some money to play with, and they can restructure some more contracts if push comes to shove. But speaking of speaking of Boston, they did lose Al Horford, which he went to Philly. And
Right.
I think that's what you were kind of alluding to earlier. With now the Philly has Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, and Al Horford all kind of in that 4-5-3 range there, and they're going to be a powerhouse.
Powerhouse.
They're going to be pretty. They're going to be pretty good. But
Listen.
the question I have is, are they going to miss that outside shooting more than they realize? What it comes down to.
Well, I think they still need to sign a sharpshooter, and I don't know why they weren't on the horn with Seth Curry. I mean, Seth Curry going to Dallas. Okay, he's familiar with Dallas, and he's played there before, and they gave him. You know what's crazy? Lou Williams signed the exact same contract 2 years ago that Seth Curry signed it, and Lou Williams is much better than Seth Curry.
Right.
I think Lou Williams is an idiot. I'm not gonna lie to you. He signed a 4-year, $32 million deal. Lou Williams is worth 15 to 20 million, but that's neither here nor there. Seth Curry signed a 4-year, $32 million deal with the Mavericks. And so I think Philadelphia should have went after Seth Curry as soon as they lost J.J. Redick. That would have been my target. But that being said, in the last 6 minutes of a game for the Philadelphia 76ers, right, they can trot out there Al Horford, Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, Josh Richardson, and Ben Simmons. That's the best 5 in the NBA that somebody's trotting out there, unless Kawhi Leonard goes to the Lakers.
At the same time, though, they don't have any outside shooting there either.
Tobias and Josh Richardson can hit threes in their sleep, but they're not 3-point contest shooters.
Right.
Right. That's what you mean. You mean a guy that's money. They're more like scorers that can shoot threes. I get your point.
Yeah.
I understand it. So they do need. They don't have on the roster, and they might even lose T.J. McConnell, who's a really good shooter too. So they really needed on their roster a Del Curry type.
Right.
Stephen Curry's dad, a guy come in there, lights it up from 3 range and spreads the floor. So they will miss that. That would be funny if that came back to haunt them. Let's just say Josh Richardson and Tobias aren't hitting that night, and they have to drive it to the basket more. And let's not forget, Embiid can shoot threes as well.
He can, yes.
Yeah.
But
yeah, you're right.
But Alfred and Ben Simmons can't. So that paint is going to be kind of cluttered. So if you have Harris trying to, pound it in there and pass it out, and that's not, and they just start hitting their shots. I mean, it's going to be pretty hard scoring for them, and
that's the only way that the 76ers lose, if they're just not hitting that night. Right. I mean, because Al Horford can hit threes too. You can't leave him open. So in other words, to answer your point, Michael, you're right. They have a bunch of good 3-point shooters, but they don't have a guy that can just, like a Bogdanovich for Indiana.
Yep.
That he was. They don't have a guy like that just knocks him down, no problem. So yeah, they're going to miss that during the year. They're going to have to try to find a couple of pieces like that. You're right. Maybe Danny Green goes with Philly. That's another possibility. He can shoot it, but he's not a great shooter, but he's a good shooter. So we'll see how they fill out their roster with Philly. But to me, they have the best 5 ending a game. The last 6 minutes of a game, I wouldn't want anybody else's starting 5 except for the Philadelphia 76ers.
All right. So we talked about who you think had the best offseason so far, best free agency. Who's had the worst one thus far?
Oh my God. People love to bash on the Spurs a lot. Like, oh, what are we doing? All the Spurs fans, we can't sign anybody, and all these great players are going everywhere. Spurs don't have any room to sign anybody, people, in San Antonio. And what they had to do was re-sign Rudy Gay, which they did. Listen, the Spurs yesterday at this time had no stretch 4s except for Luka Samanic. Within the 5-hour period, they signed 2 stretch 4s that are really good. Rudy Gay and DeMar Carroll. Okay, so let's not push the panic button in San Antonio. People are loved. We don't have to make any moves and all this stuff. The Spurs will be just fine. They're going to win 50-plus games if nobody gets hurt. They would have won 50-plus games if DeJounte Murray didn't get hurt last year. So the Spurs will be just fine unless injuries creep up on them. But that's that way with any team in the NBA. Man, Oklahoma City, man, nothing. If you're their fan base now, you have a little bit of reason to be upset. I mean, you absolutely heard nothing from OKC. I mean, they're basically going to ride with their 2 stars, Paul George and Russell Westbrook. Terrence Ferguson and Jelani Grant, good players. Adams, good players. But none of them moved the needle. Adams was a complete no-show.
100%.
Versus Portland. And I expected more from Ferguson and Grant. They were no-shows. They re-signed Nerlens Noel. He weighs about as much as my daughter's teddy bear. Have you ever seen Nerlens Noel? No, I'm not joking.
Yeah, he's a
He's
toothpick.
6'10". I'm not. Listen, they think he's like Bol Bolish, but he doesn't even have the skill Bol has. Nerlens Noel, I don't know what happened to him, but this man's about 150 pounds and 6'10". He's not a factor. They talk about in San Antonio, Luka Samanic needs to gain weight. Luka Samanic looks like Hercules compared to Nerlens Noel. So I don't know. OKC basically is riding. They're riding these two stars until the wheels fall off, and it's dangerous because as great as Paul George and Russell Westbrook are, and they are great, they're banking on, well, if both of them have great nights, to win a playoff series, Michael, Paul George and Russell Westbrook have to have 4 great nights.
Right.
If one of them has a bad night, they lose. You know what I mean? Like they're relying too much on these two individuals with not enough help. And it's going to come back to bite them. They could be the odd team out of the playoffs and barely be like 45 and 37 or, 44 and 38.
Yeah.
They could be battling for that AC. I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything came across the wire saying that they did anything. So, I mean, they could, I guess they're capped out. Sam Presti usually does a good job, but, can you imagine? I mean, they don't have those two have to have great nights for them to win a game. So imagine it's just a regular game. Let's say they're playing the Lakers tonight. Well, if Paul George and Russell Westbrook don't have 2 30-point games, they're not winning. If one of them has a great night and one of them doesn't, Lakers win. Clippers win. So I think they're banking too much on these two great players, as great as they are.
Yeah, I'm thinking the wheels are starting to turn in my head, and I wonder if Paul George is now kind of kicking himself by taking some money and going to OKC just because of the way Indiana is starting to turn out. With the Oladipo and their post players. Too bad Darren Collison Diaz decided to become a Jehovah's church guy.
Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah,
you don't need
whatever.
Darren Collison.
Yeah, but he was still a good piece to add to that mix. Yeah. But I'm thinking if Paul George could see the future and back in the past, he would have definitely have stayed in Indiana or maybe gone somewhere else besides OKC. OKC is just going to be an average team, just like you said. The biggest strikeout so far that I've seen as team-wise has to be the New York Knicks. They had DeAndre Jordan on their team, and they knew DeAndre Jordan and KD were pretty good friends. If you really wanted KD to be there, you should have made DeAndre Jordan happy during the regular season. You guys knew this day was coming for 365 days. And it's been reported KD wanted to go to the Knicks since before the All-Star break. So you guys had 6 or 7 months to woo DeAndre Jordan to bring his friend to New York, and KD was bringing Kyrie. You guys knew this, and by the Knicks not offering KD the max contract, what are you guys thinking? Every other team was going to offer KD the max, regardless of the Achilles injury or not. By you guys saying, we're worried about its Achilles injury, you guys are out of your freaking minds. Worst basketball moves ever there.
That's when almost hard to believe that they wouldn't offer KD the max. When I heard that, I was like, that can't be true. Yeah. That's almost too unbelievable, but it's the Knicks, so you might believe it. I mean, who knows? But, the Knicks, absolutely. They did the worst. I guess if you want to get technical with the most cap room, they did the worst. Yeah. OKC, probably, they don't have any cap room. So they didn't, it's not like they struck out. They didn't have anything. They have a fundamental flaw on, having to rely on these two players. The Knicks struck out. It was terrible. They had the worst day. And Stephen A. Smith will tell you that. He's sad all day today and last night. But, I'll tell you what.
He's been crying for a couple hours, hasn't he?
Right. I hate to do this to you, but, I mean, and as a Knicks fan, they probably don't want to hear this, but because they've been struggling for so many years.
Never won NBA Finals in New York.
Yeah. It's been since the last time they won an NBA Finals, Michael, I was 5 months old.
There you go.
That's a long time, by the way, in case you didn't know. That was 1973.
There you go.
Listen, they do have some young good pieces though.
That's what I was going to go with. RJ Barrett, they have Kevin Knox.
Yes.
They'd have some pieces.
They have Dennis Smith Jr. who can play. They have Frank Ntilikina, all first-round picks, and they have Mitchell Robinson, all first-round picks.
Yes.
Mitchell Robinson's a 7-footer that dunks everything back in with authority, and is like a DeAndre Jordan type. I'm glad that Mitchell Robinson got to play with DeAndre Jordan because he learned how to play.
Right.
And then they signed Julius Randle, who I like, who can guard all 5 positions. Listen, they're not making the playoffs. The Knicks have to finally stop. Have you ever heard of those people doing like the get rich quick schemes?
Yeah.
Yeah, and most of the time they fail. Sometimes they work. It's rare, but most of the time they fail. That's what the Knicks do every year.
Yeah.
They try to
They're
design
not trusting the process, are they?
Right. They have to do the process. They have to build from within. They have to draft correctly. They have to develop the young talent. They can't keep trading away the young talent and hoping to get splashes because it's not happening. They need to develop R.J. Barrett, Dennis Smith, Frank Ntilikina, Mitchell Robinson, and Kevin Knox, and Julius Randle. They got Wayne Ellington, who's a good shooter. They got Bullock, who's a good basketball player. They're not making the playoffs. They're going to go 32-50, and that's not bad. 32-50, and they're going to miss the playoffs, and then they're going to get another draft pick, and next year's draft pick, the free agent market's not going to be as good next year. In 2 years, it's going to be better, but next year's NBA draft is going to be really good. So now you've got a chance to have a top 5 pick next year. The Knicks need to now, but here's the problem. Jimmy Dolan, he's got to be patient. He's got to hire the right people to be patient and build from within. Quit doing these get-rich-quick schemes.
Now, you are a very smart man, a variable, knowledgeable man on the basketball side of things, much more than I am. So who is the guy the Knicks need in the coaching staff, in the front office, to make these players great players that they have the capabilities of being? Like, who is that guy? Is it already there at the Knicks, or do they need to bring somebody in?
Well, I think they have the right coach. I think David Fizdale is a good coach. Okay. The problem is Jimmy Dolan. Is he going to bring in anybody? I mean, listen, and maybe the guys they have now. I think Mills. I think his name is Mills, the GM or the president. Maybe he's turning it around. I don't know because they've drafted Will. They've got these young talent. Let's see what he does. Who I would bring in? These guys that have done it before. There is Tom Penn, who's done it before with Portland and Seattle. He's a guy I would consider. He's talked about, about building from within. He'd be one of the high ones on the list. He does NBA TV work now. Tom Penn is really good with the cap and with bringing in young players and developing teams. He'd be first on my list. If you're asking me, gun to my head, a name that I thought of right now. There's a couple others. I think it's King, Billy King. Also was the GM for the 76ers a couple years ago. I think he had Allen Iverson. He drafted Iguodala. So he's also on NBA TV. He's another guy I would call and look into and say, hey, what do we think we should do with the Knicks? Because I've heard their examples and they have the right approach. So one of those guys, if I'm Jimmy Dolan, I call one of those guys. You're asking me who I'd bring in. But let's see what Mills does, the GM for the Knicks. Let's see what he does. And they have the right coach. Let's see if David Fizdale can develop these players.
I think you're right. They do have the right coach. They have the general staff there. The problem is the owner of the Knicks or the president of operations. Right. I think the Knicks is kind of like a side thing because he's like a singer or something to that effect. I don't know what his main job is, but the Knicks are kind of like his part-time thing. And what was it, last year or maybe two years ago? He had a Knicks great banished from ever going to a home game again, and Charles Oakley, and you just don't do that. You respect the things in the past and whatnot. So I think if the NBA ever wants the New York Knicks to be good, they need to do something about the owner. They kind of need to do what they did with the Clippers a couple years ago, and just force them to sell it or something.
Yeah, I was right. It was Steve Mills is running the Knicks. Let's see what he does. Mills and Perry sounds like a lawyer group, but let's see what they do. Let's see.
As long as Phil Jackson isn't there anymore, I think he's kind of well past his prime.
I would have never got rid of Porzingis. There is nothing how I would have never let it get that bad.
So I was reading a story about that, why they let him go for what they did. Apparently, Porzingis went into the Knicks office saying, I am unhappy. I want out, and if you don't let me out, I'm going to raise hell." So that's what the Knicks did. They said, "Okay, we're going to wipe our
Yeah.
hands of you and send him on his
Yeah.
way." If that's true or not,
I understand
like, I don't know.
that.
Yeah.
Listen, you don't want a disgruntled player. I understand that. I'd have got rid of him too. But I would have never. What I'm saying is, I would have never let it got to that point.
Right.
You have to coddle these players, and you have to understand who the guy is, and
Yeah.
especially if you're going to draft him. So the Knicks are a mess. I agree, but let's see how they do. Let's see how they build within. They have the right coach.
Yeah.
Let's see if Steve Mills can work his magic here.
And there's still a few more days of free agency left here. Maybe they can get somebody like a Danny Green to add to that mix, or something. Like, you never know. Maybe even Kawhi Leonard might end up in a New York Knicks.
Man, that'd be something.
That would.
Yeah, I'd offer Kawhi Leonard the max. I'd offer him part ownership. Yeah, I would.
They
tell
have
him
the pieces there, and just add him. They're probably a playoff contending team.
If I'm Jimmy Dolan, I would tell him that him and his and uncle, what's his uncle Robertson, or whatever,
like
his uncle that runs the show, I'd say y'all can come in and do my GM duties. I don't care. Yeah.
So
yeah,
that is your plea for the New York Knicks to bring Kyrie in here.
Danny, that's his name.
Offer him the house, the dog, and the cat, and we'll change your cat box twice a week. There you go. Kawhi Leonard to New York, right?
Man.
Maybe. Who knows? But guys, find out tomorrow when Marcus and Mike come back tomorrow, same time, same place. Guys, be sure to give us a little support, like, comment, subscribe, share this with a couple friends as well. Also, if you are in the San Antonio area, Marcus is on ESPN Radio tonight from 4 till 6:30. So check him out on that. What's that station ID?
94.5 FM, ESPN Radio.
There you go.
It's 12:50 a.m. Yeah, it's here in San Antonio.
Guys, check that out. Marcus is going to do great things on that. But see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place. We out.